Hi, everyone. Welcome to Family Matters. We are so excited having you join us today. For this episode, we are joined by Jessica Benler. She is a clinical psychologist at Counterpoint Health Services, which is an interprofessional behavioral healthcare company specializing in geriatrics and dementia care. Jessica has been working as a licensed clinical psychologist for the last 15 years. She's been working specifically in skilled nursing facilities and senior living communities for the last 11 years with numerous patients and caregivers. So if you are tuning in and you have a loved one that's in a skilled nursing or assisted living setting, be sure to keep watching. Welcome, Jess. We're glad to have you.
Thanks so much. I'm glad to be here.
Today, we will be discussing the topic I'm feeling depressed, anxious, and stressed. Is this normal for a dementia caregiver? This can be a very meaningful topic to those caregivers out there with loved ones with a cognitive impairment. And there are so many of you out there. So I hope you watch for the rest of the questions and interviews. Before we dive in, Jess, please tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
Of course. I completed my research-based bachelor's in psychology at Hendrix College and then started graduate school getting my master's and doctorate in clinical psychology from Spalding University. I've trained and worked in various settings, including community mental health centers and school-based mental health programs before focusing more specifically on geriatrics and the treatment of those living in senior living and skilled nursing facilities. In addition to my direct care of patients, I've worked as a clinical supervisor or provided clinical consultation for social workers, counselors, and other psychologists working with this population as well.
Okay, so you are well versed in the whole spectrum of needs. So let's start with the title of this interview. I'm feeling depressed, anxious, and stressed. Is this normal for a dementia caregiver? So, can you share a little bit more of an insight around the topic of this interview?
Sure, of course. The short answer is yes. The effort and energy that goes into caring for someone with dementia is extensive. And while it can be very rewarding and noble to do, it has an impact on the caregiver. It's often emotionally taxing and can be physically challenging as well.
Right. So, can you discuss some of the common symptoms that you might see related to the caregiver stress?
Sure. Individual caregivers can find themselves feeling anxious or worried, often about their loved one with dementia and what they may be doing, feeling, or thinking. Caregivers may also find themselves having increased worry about seemingly unrelated topics. Could be other family members and their well-being, the state of the world or current events, or more globally about the future. Often caregivers find themselves anxious about their own future and what could happen if they themselves begin to experience confusion or progress into dementia.
So there's a lot there that they're trying to deal with and understand and work through. And absolutely, that can be very stressful. Can the
Mhm.
stress sometimes manifest in the form of a depression?
Absolutely. Other people find themselves feeling more sad. They can have difficulty finding energy or motivation to continue with demanding caregiver tasks, particularly in the virtual certainty that their loved one's dementia will worsen over time. It can be really so sad to see this person you've known and loved for so long, could be your parent or spouse or even another family member or close relationship, changing over time and becoming less and less who you knew them to be.
Yeah, that's very sad to see, and definitely something that we have seen manifest due to high amounts of stress. Are there any symptoms or any other symptoms caregivers may experience due to the stress that they're experiencing by caregiving for a loved one with dementia?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Other people find themselves feeling more irritable or easily frustrated by their loved one and their impairment. Everyone has limits to keeping their cool, and often the repetition of questions asked by your loved one with an expectation that the caregiver is going to give them the answers, or maintaining the structure and routine that can be so helpful for your loved one with dementia, but can be overly monotonous for caregivers or feel really restrictive and isolating. Um, it's normative to experience times of anxiety, depressed mood, irritability, or stress in our lives, and often caring with people with dementia can bring out all three at various points in time.
Right. So they might be feeling depressed, have high anxiety, irritable mood, which can
Mhm.
affect all other aspects of life. So
Yeah.
you did mention the word normative. Can you
Mhm.
explain that a little bit more to the family members listening in? Is this just something to be expected, or is this just a case by case scenario?
Yeah, of course. I think I want to make clear that the caregivers know they're not alone in feeling stressed by caring with their loved one with dementia. I think it can feel so isolating, and caregivers can sometimes feel really guilty about having negative emotions associated with their loved one or their care. So, in other words, the emotional response is expected when we're in a challenging situation. But I do want to stress, while normative, while likely to happen, it doesn't mean we should just accept these negative experiences. It's important to acknowledge it's happening, but also give yourself grace for having the experience and then move forward and take some steps to address it.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. So if the family members listening in are feeling emotionally overwhelmed, stressed, depressed, anxious, what do you recommend doing to help manage these symptoms?
Yeah. I think the first thing is really just recognize and acknowledge what's happening for you. And then try to determine what the most difficult aspects of the caregiving are, and then what supports we can put in place to improve your experience. It could be assisting with showers is really difficult, and a possible improvement might be to hire a home health caregiver to provide those showers, or have another family member step in for that task. You could have concerns your loved one may leave your home at night and get lost. So maybe you could add security or alarming devices to give you some peace of mind that your loved one's safely in your home, while you could still get restorative sleep, which is so vital. I just think those things are important steps. It's also really important to make sure you're including your loved one's care, that their caregivers or their medical professionals working with them. Make sure they know what's happening with your loved one. They may need more support. They might need their own behavioral health support or medication to help manage their behavior, which then makes the caregiving task easier and improves everyone's quality of life. Um, I think another consideration that's always a tough one is, at what point should you consider maybe not having your loved one at home anymore and that they might need to transition into a care facility just to provide that increased oversight and the benefit of the skilled staff?
Yeah, you mentioned one thing that really resonated. The first step is to recognize and acknowledge what's happening. And
Mhm.
that just doesn't always happen. A lot of times, and you probably see this where the caregivers will resist all the way up until they have no choice but to accept it and
Mhm.
then offer
Mhm.
help and support.
Yeah, it's a tough thing, to consider and weigh what's best for them, for you. I think within it too, it's important that we focus on our own health. It's so common that caregivers just get consumed with that task, that they don't take care of their own health or well-being, and maintaining good health habits for yourself is just essential. That can be speaking openly with your healthcare providers about challenges you're experiencing and getting your own supports. That can be, a variety of things, but being part of a caregiver support group or a dementia support group, getting your own counseling, or even considering medication for emotional symptoms if you're finding they're getting more frequent or more intense. They may start to impact your ability to function day to day, or put you at risk at responding negatively to your loved one. I mean, if those things are coming up, it's really time to take action for yourself.
Yep, that this reminds me of, when you're flying with young kids on an airplane and they say pull
Mhm.
your oxygen mask first
Absolutely.
before putting on for your kids. It's the same principle that you have to take care of yourself in order
Mhm.
to take care of someone else and recognizing then that you need help in getting all these supports in place. So,
Yeah.
Where do you recommend starting? If you have caregivers listening in, like, oh, yeah, this is me, where do you
Hmm.
recommend them starting?
Yeah. Well, I think the good news is there's a handful of stuff that we know promotes good health. And it's beneficial for all of us, whether we're a dementia caregiver or a person with dementia or just anyone motivated to improve their own well-being. Um, and the good thing about it is it's not that complicated, and what's good for our body is really good for our brain health and emotional well-being. So it's all the same stuff. The first, I think, a good starting point is always exercise, making time for that, for your self-care and well-being. Whatever physical activity you can safely do really has a positive impact. So it could be taking a walk or seated exercise if that's a challenge, or high intensity exercise if that's what you're able to do and enjoy. But just regular increased movement really has a great return on health benefits overall. And then, related to that is maintaining a healthy diet and hydration. That's also essential. Make sure you're drinking your water, plant-based when possible, avoiding those things we know are bad for us, health-wise. And then really engaging in meaningful socialization. That could be participating in a religious group or some other social group that has maybe a shared hobby or interest. Again, being part of a local dementia support group's a great starting point because they understand what you're going through, right? That they're people having a similar experience, and often they provide extra education about dementia or other supports in the community. It's also really good to engage in cognitively challenging and stimulating activities. That's really beneficial for your own maintaining your own cognitive health as well. Learning new skills are fantastic for that. Um, it's important to maintain a sense of purpose in your life. That could be the caregiving role. I mean, that's a really fantastic and important thing to do, but could also be dedicating some time to volunteering or another cause that's important to you. Um, I think with caregivers specifically, getting support for others in your social network is really essential. That you don't feel like you are the only person or only support for your loved one with dementia and trying to just meet all of their needs. It's really unreasonable for one person to feel like they can do it all. So if there aren't others in your network that can help, considering respite services can be beneficial. So you can have time to go to your like needed medical appointments. Um, but also for enjoyable tasks, going to lunch with friends, going to a movie, gardening, whatever you find restorative and relaxing to replenish you to kind of come back to this caregiving role is really important.
Those are really great strategies. Prioritizing brain health, prioritizing finding support, taking care of yourself, really
Mhm.
replenishing your reserves. All of that is so
Yeah.
important. Do you have any final thoughts for our family members?
I think just recognizing that caring for others with dementia is really important, but also really demanding, and that it's okay that it's challenging for you. It is for everyone. But that taking care of yourself and asking for support are some of the best things you can do, not only for yourself, but for your loved one.
Those are really great. Thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time to share with our families all of your knowledge and
Mhm.
expertise. I'm sure our families value your input on this topic as it's so meaningful to so many caregivers out there. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and stay tuned for our next Family Matters episode. Bye bye.
Bye.